Hello viewers, Namaste. This is Dr. Ravi Sankar Erukulapati, Senior Endocrinologist at Apollo Hospitals Jubilee Hills, Hyderabad. Today is World Diabetes Day, November 14th. We used to celebrate this as Children's Day when we were kids, and of course now as well. But we also need to understand that diabetes is celebrated today, or rather, the need for prevention and appropriate management of diabetes is celebrated today. So, in this context, let us try to understand what exactly diabetes is. Diabetes is a lifestyle disease. Diabetes is a disease that is related to what we eat, how we sleep, or how much we don't sleep, and what kind of exercise we do or we don't do. Why is this? Because type 2 diabetes, which is the most common variety of diabetes, present in about 90% of all diabetics, is developed when people have risk factors for diabetes such as genetic predisposition or if they have a unhealthy lifestyle. So these two together is a very ominous combination, to say the least. This apart, there are some other environmental factors such as viruses like the COVID virus we have had in the past, or pollution, that can in fact lead to type 2 diabetes. Is that all? No. Some of the endocrine disrupting chemicals can also potentially lead to type 2 diabetes. So what are the risk factors in total related to type 2 diabetes? Let us start with genes. If our parents or siblings have type 2 diabetes, our chance of developing type 2 diabetes increases because we inherit the same genes. As simple as that. As on today, that is 14th of November 2025, we can't change our genetic predisposition. In the future, who knows, this might change. But as of now, this remains as it is and we can't really change the genetic predisposition. And what are the other risk factors? Other risk factors are modifiable risk factors, fortunately. Most of the lifestyle related risk factors are modifiable. What are they? Let us start with diet. If we eat the wrong kind of foods and if we put on weight because of it, that increases the chance of us developing type 2 diabetes. Even if we eat the right kind of food, if we eat more of it, that means too many calories than required, then we might still develop type 2 diabetes. So, right kind of food in the right composition and right proportion is very much required if we really need to prevent type 2 diabetes. The same applies to treatment as well. That's a different story. Then comes exercise, physical fitness. Why am I speaking about it? Most of us lead a sedentary lifestyle. Let's be honest about it. Unless we change this for good and start working out, exercising regularly to make sure that we don't lead a desktop lifestyle, we may develop type 2 diabetes, especially because our genetic predisposition, that means the Southeast Asian genes, make us predisposed to developing type 2 diabetes. So this is in simple about diet and exercise. Then sleep. Why is this so important? Why are we even speaking about it? Previously, say 10 years ago, 20 years ago, we were not hooked to our mobile phones. We used to happily sleep at night 10 o'clock. But these days, people are hooked up to their mobile phones, laptops, television sets, and this has increased significantly during the COVID era. And that has led to people not sleeping on time or sleeping for short duration of time. Both are dangerous. Why is this? If a person sleeps for the same 7 to 8 hours, but at say morning 2 o'clock instead of sleeping at night 10 o'clock, that can also predispose to developing type 2 diabetes. And this is not Dr. Ravi Sankar saying this, but this is what scientific studies say. Why is this the case? Because the hormones that ought to go silent during night time, which ought to be sleeping by 10 o'clock, just like us, do not sleep if we stay awake. So what happens is these hormones, which in fact cause stress, in fact predispose us to obesity, predispose us to type 2 diabetes, are secreted avidly when we don't sleep at 10 o'clock. And this can lead to a disturbance in the circadian rhythm, diurnal rhythm, body clock, as it is called with different names, and that can lead to type 2 diabetes, obesity, and such problems. It's not just this. That can also lead to hypertension. It can also lead to heart disease. So, ladies and gentlemen, this is a call for you to ensure that you sleep on time by 10 o'clock and for the right amount of time, which is usually minimum of 6 hours up to 8 hours. So 6 to 8 hours of sleep is definitely needed for all of us, and that too timely sleep is important. So this is about sleep. Then what else? Obesity. If you look at the Indian data, about 30 to 50 crore people have obesity as a problem. Obesity causes hell a lot of problems right from top to toe. We're speaking about increased risk of brain stroke, dementia, sleep apnea, polycystic ovarian disease, heart disease, high cholesterol, high blood pressure, even type 2 diabetes because of insulin resistance. And it also leads to fatty liver, liver cirrhosis, osteoarthritis, gallstone predisposition, hyperuricemia, that means increased uric acid levels. The list is enormous. So remember, in the list I also said about type 2 diabetes. So it's very, very important to ensure that we don't become obese, and if we are overweight or obese, we ensure that we follow these basic tips. That means cutting down on calories to the right extent, working out regularly, that means right amount of physical activity, and of course sleeping on time to ensure that we shed those extra kilos and get to the optimal body weight in order to prevent all these lifestyle diseases, especially type 2 diabetes. So everything goes hand in hand. So this is about the third most important tip that I would give for you for the day. Then moving on from this slightly, what are the other risk factors for developing type 2 diabetes? Because type 2 diabetes is by far the most common variety of diabetes. You do have pre-diabetes. That means if your blood sugar levels are not in the normal range but not quite in the diabetic range, we call it pre-diabetes. Because pre-diabetes predisposes to type 2 diabetes at a later stage, it is very important for us to recognize this early and to reverse it to the normal range. Speaking of normal range, I think it's very important for us to understand what is normal and what is not normal. HbA1c less than 5.7%, that means glycated hemoglobin less than 5.7 is supposedly normal. And blood sugar levels fasting, if you have to remember this, less than 100 is the magic number, and a random or postprandial 140 is the magic number. So you ought to keep these numbers below these. Anything above these is abnormal. It could be pre-diabetes, or it could be impaired fasting glucose or impaired glucose tolerance. So if your fasting is 125, then that's a magic number again. Remember, you might be a diabetic. Same with your random blood glucose or postprandial blood glucose of 200. So these are the kind of magic numbers that you need to remember. If you can't remember, still that's also fine. If you got any of the risk factors that I mentioned earlier, such as being overweight, having a family history, having polycystic ovarian syndrome in the past, having gestational diabetes, that means having blood glucose levels in the elevated range during pregnancy, or if you're a smoker especially, remember, smoking also predisposes to type 2 diabetes because of insulin resistance. Or if you're somebody who doesn't do physical activity on the overweight side, and if you are unfortunately predisposed to type 2 diabetes because of a family history, I think you got to be extra cautious and get yourself screened periodically. I'm sure our HR does a good job by making sure that all of us get periodic checkups. But if you were to have any symptoms related to diabetes, such as excessive thirst, passing too much urine, unusually tired, or for that matter blurred vision, you need to be extra cautious. Go to the doctor and make sure that you get your blood glucose checked so that we diagnose this on time and that it is treated appropriately by means of lifestyle measures as well as regular medication as and when required. So this is in essence about what we need to know to take care of ourselves and our loved ones. So ladies and gentlemen, if you haven't been following a healthy lifestyle, I think it's time to wake up. Make sure that we follow a healthy lifestyle, be it sleep, diet, exercise, or quitting smoking if you are unfortunately a smoker. Even passive smoking is good, so stay away from those who have been burning themselves with cigars or cigarettes in their hands. So this is a very important reminder for all of us. That apart, I think it's important to stay away from waste calories as well, such as the ones that we drink in the form of either soft beverages or alcoholic beverages, because these do no good to us, and in fact they're waste calories and causing hell a lot of other problems other than causing type 2 diabetes and obesity. So let us pledge today on this 14th November 2025 that we all shall take care of ourselves for our own good, for the good of our family members, and of course the larger good of the country, its economy, its well-being and health, and its health, that we shall follow a healthy lifestyle, sleep on time, well, stay away from smoking, alcohol, eat appropriately, and work out regularly. I hope this sends a good message to every one of you. Now I'm more than happy to take any questions that you might have.